All right, the Dolphins, they on a bye week, so this gives them a little chance to regroup, think about things, reassess, all that cool, fun stuff that they all like to do on their bye week. Now, since we're sort of halfway through the point, basically, how would you sort of say that they've been, and kind of where I thought they would be. I was like, last year was pretty much really the same except for Tua's injury. That's really sort of what threw, a wrench in the whole thing. But to be honest, they're pretty much sort of the same team in a sense. I was like, we just getting Ramsey back, so he now he's in the fold, and that's going to do nothing but help the defense while giving everybody extra week. Howard and all them on defense, extra time along with the offense as well too. It was rest week, but I was like, the defense was already looking pretty well, especially the pass rush unit. The pass rush unit has been really well in their linebackers because they got a good mix and match of linebackers. From Baker to Long to Dick Van Dyke. Uh, of pass rushers versus coverage guys and stuff like that. So I think they got a really good mix of that, and that's sort of what helps the pass rush unit. You ain't got to worry. You ain't got like Chubb, he's been good. I don't think he's been what we traded for. Wilkins, who's been stout. Phillips, when he's been healthy, I was like, is always just coming across the edge. And Long and Van can also rush the passer as well too. They use Van really more as a. It made me think of how the Ravens sort of use Van Noy and stuff like that. While Long, he's really good at timing up his blitzes and whatnot. I was like, I think he got like the leash to sort of be a little bit more free on defense. So he's really good at timing like that, those kind of things. But I think the defense is actually probably became our better unit as the season's gone on, especially now that those corners that had to start when there were no starters. I was like, yeah, they're mostly nickel guys, second, third string guys, but you do get valuable time starting and going up against tough ass matchups. And to be honest, they held up better than probably what anybody would have thought. So them going back to their roles, I was like, now we can have more fun with the team. Like Raul. Now you got tight ends. Ramsey can sort of cover them instead of, us just being like. Cause I was like, don't get me wrong, like Holland and all them. I was like, I do think against some of the bigger tight ends, we do end up getting manhandled because I was like, not saying like every tight end is like 6'7" and nothing like that, but like in the Chargers game, like a few weeks ago, Parm, but he's also like 6'8", so I guess that sort of hurt. I was like, they ain't too many DBs that big, but if you have Ramsey 6'2", that can also jump. I was like, and also be physical with him. It does change up the balance. So while that's sort of going up, the defense is sort of. I'm not gonna say it's going down. I'm just saying it's like I was like, instead of like a business grab, that thing is like a heart monitor. That thing like this the whole time, cause we can still score, but it hadn't been fluid the whole time. Like in the Chiefs game, like we couldn't score until we was able to score, and then we just basically ran out of time to continue scoring. I was like, of course that's like the game of it, but even with the Eagles, we was able to score with them until basically they got one more extra score, and then after that was just a little stuttered. Some of this I think is because I was like, it almost made me think of like in basketball or something like that. Where it's like if the younger team is able to run fast and stuff like that is going to outshine a lot of like the veterans or the methodical tempo type of players. And then once the season starts rolling around, they start being able to dictate themselves, and then all of a sudden those fast young players ain't moving the same way anymore. I feel like that about the Dolphins, that we're so fast with all this other stuff, especially during the hot times and stuff, that we get ahead of all the team. Then, especially when we play like the actual like top notch teams, Then it gets a little more stagnant. Something gets thrown off, and then next thing you know, we're over here being it's being difficult. Now I will say the bright spot. I mean, of course, it's always Tyreek Hill, but for the other players on the team, I was like Cedric Wilson has shown up. He sort of, especially after like trying to get him last year, and he was like hurt, didn't play and stuff. Uh, he came on really well, and also he's a fast guy. I do think he got top end speed, but I think he's also the better of I was like, to me, Waddle to me has more, like he gonna just go past you than sideline to sideline type of speed. Tyreek Hill just sort of got it all. But I think Cedric Wilson has a little bit of sideline to sideline as well, but he's also like 6'3", so he gives us a little bit of a bigger receiver. I was like, we haven't fully used Claypool to whatever ability that is. I think there's still potential there. He's sort of weird because he's like a big guy, so it's like you think like power, where he's like 6'4", like 220, 230, but he's fast. Like, he's not their type of fast, but he is fast. But sometimes he doesn't play like it. But I also think, I think he's better in, like, game, he's not really great, like, jump balls, even though he should be, but I do think that how we sort of use matchup, that he can be right in the system, because we might be able to use his being big, because I like in San Francisco and stuff, and like a lot of like the West Coast team, they have a lot of their bigger receivers in the inside. I was like, they got like Jawan Jennings in the 49ers. He's their big receiver. He's really used sometimes mostly in the inside. They had Jalen Hurd at one time. He's 6'4", and I was like, that's what they were planning on doing with him. I was like, I think that's where his matchup need to be. He's not really an outside receiver to me, but I also think it screens and stuff like that. I think that's where like you get his speed, then with his big body, that's where his power comes in. Then like him just actually like Mawson or Debo and people, and I mean like Debo, not 49ers Debo. Like where's my chain, Debo? And I was like, the run game hasn't hit as much. Now, granted, that's some because of A-Chain there, not there, and you don't have that second back. Our line, I sort of figured that our line would come back to earth a bit. I know Connor Williams has been hurt for a while too, so that's sort of been a problem. And Armstead been out, for a while too, so like this helps them as well. But I do think the line was a little bit of like, it's going to be an issue. And I don't think you need a quarterback that can run. It helps if you do. But Tua, I think, and how he just sort of, he's so much more pocket than I think it realized. Like, he makes me think of Teddy Bridgewater. Like, yes, they can run, but you ain't afraid of them running. Like, even Joe Burrow, you're sort of afraid of him running because you're like, dang, if it's wide open, he gonna get 15 yards when it might have been 12. That, with Tua, it's like, oh man, there's 8 yards, he's gonna get 6. But also too is that because he's not able to move like that, if his line's not giving him enough chance, then it's sort of hard for him to be like 1, 2, 3. And I'm not saying, like, most quarterbacks all of them don't really do 1, 2, 3. It's rare doing that. But you sort of see that he gets stuck sometimes on a player or play, kind of like he just stands to the side. Like a lot of his interceptions have been a lot of that, where it's just like you want it so bad and you still throw it even though it's not there, kind of thing. But this is sort of why I also thought, I was like, it's sort of hard to be like who to trade for, but it's sort of where I was in my head. I'm like, somebody like Jonathan Taylor, or, I was like, we wouldn't get him, but somebody like Derrick Henry, or, I was like, or even, I was like, maybe some other couple tight ends on the market or whatever. And I was like, there are not too many top-notch tight ends, so that would have been a hard sell anyway. But because I was like, I was like, for instance, with the tight end part, I was like, when the receivers not, are necessarily like covered up, and I don't mean like they're like covered up because sometimes you can't cover up Hill and Waddle and stuff like that. But to me, that's where I'm like, I know Gesicki wasn't a good blocker, but he gave a different element of the inside of the field. He was like 6'5", jump ball type of dude, and I think they sometimes miss that type of guy because there's nobody big enough like that. And like I said, Claypool's not really that kind of guy. He can be sometimes, but he's not. Whereas Gesicki is that, and I was like, I think that's something that they miss, is a big body dude like that can get the ball all up, but he can also run. Like, he's fast, especially for a tight end. Like, at times he has sort of like the potential and wiggle room to sort of be used like Kelsey. Not that he can be Kelsey, but in that type of way. But he's a big receiver like that. And I was like, he's really good at jump ball stuff. He's being underutilized in New England, but I guess so is everybody. But I was just thinking, I was like, with the running backs, for instance, I'm like, sometimes all that motion and all that gimmicky stuff just ain't gonna cut it. And sometimes you just need to just grind out yards. You need to show that you have another thing in the chamber. That will make the Eagles so good. Like, they could pass the hell out of the ball if they want to. They got a plethora of receivers / tight ends. They got the running backs who catch the ball just like, like how we do. But if they need to, they will turn that to another end and run the ball down your throat. Same thing with the 49ers. They could pass the ball across a lot if they wanted to too, but they can also pound you. I think that's sort of like the problem with the Cowboys, is that the Cowboys can't muscle out yards. And I think that was hurtful because it's like, they're going to pass. They're going to shift. They're going to be gimmicking. And basically, if we could just figure out how to make have you not use your full speed, what do you got to use? Especially at times, I feel like sometimes we're trying to, it's not fully the 49ers where like 49ers can hit the deep play and they can also do dig and dunk and get some bunch of yak. I sometimes think that we try to go for the big play too much when the yak is right there to sort of get it, where it's just like, nope, 5 yards, 8, 6, but he gonna break a tackle or something like that. I feel like sometimes we get away from that as well, especially if your running game is not going, you're not utilizing enough short passes to, I was like, because I'm like, they're already over here scared of Tyreek and Waddle, so I'm like, you have all this in the middle of the field. That's why I said somebody like Gesicki, you could easily give him the ball. Guess what? He's gone down for 23 yards. You wouldn't expect that. You thought it was going to be 7, but he's big and he's able to run. So this is a good time for them to. I was like, I'm still not in fear, nothing like that, of them not making the playoffs or anything like that. That's but just saying, like, they like against a lot of the good defenses, Eagles. I was like the Bills at the time, the Chiefs. Especially because none of those teams. I was like. You was with them. I was like, the Chiefs got up, but the Chiefs got up on like BS. They receivers were playing well. They wasn't scoring points. And with all the teams, like, you've been there the whole time, and then once they sort of get an extra, where I'm like, not just saying like a touchdown, but I'm like 10 to 14 points. Then all of a sudden, it just seemed like the offense can't do anything else. And I would have thought that us playing from behind is a little bit easier than other teams playing from behind. Apparently, it's been the other way around, and that's sort of been like the weird part with it. But anyway, I was like, that's just a little bit of my Dolphins take here with the mid-season type of thing, because I guess it's sort of a halfway point. Yeah, this sort of a halfway point. Anyway, like the video, I appreciate it. If not, maybe next time. Do all the things that you're supposed to do, but other than that, for the Dolphins, next week. Bye.